Hey everybody, I'm Paulie G. Welcome back to the Paulie G Show, coming to you live from high atop Mount Georgia. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. Great to be back here with you today. And I just want to say that I hope you're noticing a little bit of an improvement in the audio quality of today's video. I finally ponied up and bought some proper audio and video equipment. When I started this channel 8 years ago, seems like yesterday, I just pointed my iPhone and started talking. I never thought anybody would pay any attention. But, and I've been using my iPhone all these years, so I know the audio in particular, has been really, really lousy quality. So, I finally got some proper equipment, and I do want to take a moment to thank my good friend Randy at Randy's Rhythm. He's got a great YouTube channel, Randy's Rhythm, and Randy's a great friend, and he was hugely helpful and inspirational in me, knowing what to get for equipment and setting it up and getting started. So I want to say a huge thanks to Randy for that. And, it's a big learning curve for me because, to be honest with you, I've been a recording musician for many, many years. I've played on literally like hundreds of songs for other artists or my own stuff as a drummer or maybe a guitar player or a backup singer or a tambourine shaker, whatever the track needs. But I don't know the first thing about audio mixing or production. I mean, 0.0. So, when I go to the studio, my job is to try to play the instrument or sing to the best of my ability, and I leave all that other stuff to the engineering people at the studio. So I've got a lot to learn when it comes to that, but I'm enjoying it. I'm having a lot of fun with it. And it's only been about a week now that I've had this stuff. So give me some time, but I do hope to improve. And I want to say thanks to anybody that stuck around with me all this time to, on the channel. So I hope to improve the quality, a lot going forward. So I kind of thought, well, maybe I should restart where I started in the beginning, which is with this Guild D55 guitar, which was the first video that I made back in 2015. So as I said back then, this is the D55 that I bought off of Rich Robinson of the Black Crowes. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm a lifetime fan of the band, and something about their music just spoke to me from kind of the minute I heard it back in 1989. And not just me, but a lot of people. They have millions of fans. But I've seen the band dozens and dozens of times. I've met Rich on 3 or 4 occasions. And on one of the occasions, I had mentioned that if he was ever thinking of selling a guitar, I would be interested in buying one potentially. He's the type of guy that he's always buying or selling guitars. He's always got dozens and dozens of them, if not 100 at any given point in time. So I thought my chances might be good. And turns out he was interested in downloading at the time. 2015, the band was kind of broken up. He and Chris had a falling out and hadn't spoken in a while. So there was I don't want to say a low point in his career, but, he was out doing solo acoustic shows. And, since then, the band he and Chris have gotten back together, and some members of the band, they're out touring. I saw them last summer. Still sounded great. Great show. They still played and sounded amazing. But anyway, so he was interested in selling this guitar, which was kind of a surprise for him to have a Guild, because I always, most of the time when it came to acoustics, I always saw him playing Gibson Doves, Gibson Hummingbirds, things like that. I never saw him with Guilds, but I don't know that he had this one for a very, very long time, but he did have it for a few years. So, I talked about Guilds in the past, and, the 12 strings are just incredible. I think they're the best 12 strings, that anybody, really makes. But their 6-string guitars are really unique also. They just have a sound that They don't sound like other guitars. They really have a unique sound. And I think maybe a great example, like if you listen to Richie Havens and him strumming away on that D40 at Woodstock, they have just a kind of I describe it as a vintage sound, even for guitars that aren't that old, like this one. I don't know, they just have a different vibe to them than any other brand that I own or play. So, and the quality has always been supreme with Guild, despite wherever they were located, and the factory has been moved from place to place over the years. It started in, I think, in New Jersey originally, but quickly moved to Westerly, Rhode Island, and I think that's where most people are most familiar with, the Westerly models. Fender bought them, moved them out to Tacoma, Washington, to line it up with the factory where they were building the Tacoma guitars. If you remember that brand, the Tacoma Acoustics, those ones that were kind of designed by George Gruen, they had that funny located sound hole on some of them, but they actually weren't bad guitars. But Fender ran them out of business, unfortunately. And they wound up moving the Guild factory to my home state of Connecticut. I think mainly because Ovation guitars have always been there, and Fender owned them as well. And they thought, let's put the factories together. So they have a factory, or had a factory, in a small town called New Hartford, not to be confused with Hartford, which is our capital, but a very small town called New Hartford. And in this old, probably it was an old like textile mill building, old brick building. I'll put a picture in. I'll insert a picture of it with this guitar in front of it. I once brought the guitar up there and hung around there for a little while. I wanted to see the factory. But anyway, that's the factory that was run there. Guild at that time, and Fender had gotten Ren Ferguson away from Gibson, and he came over to the New Hartford factory and was in charge of the builds at New Hartford. And I think it's pretty widely accepted that the New Hartford guilds are among some of the best that they ever built. I mean, they really, really had a great team of guitar builders up there. But, if you look at the factory, and actually there's a video, Premier Guitar made a video, a tour video of the factory back in, I want to say like 2013 or something. I'll insert a link to the video. If you've got a half an hour that you want to, learn a little bit about Guild and about guitar building and see more about Ren Ferguson, I'd encourage you to watch the video. Unfortunately, that factory is now closed, but it gives you a glimpse into what they were doing when they were building these guitars. But, the thing about Guild is they're almost like a boutique brand in a way, because, they're nowhere near the volume or market penetration of Gibson or Martin or Taylor, for example. They're almost a boutique brand in a way in the volume that they put out. But the good side of that is there's a lot of handcrafting going on. And this guitar, I got to say, pound for pound, it might actually be the best acoustic guitar I have. I mean, the craftsmanship on this thing is unbelievable. The inlay work with the abalone shark teeth and mother of pearl, the binding on the headstock. I actually added a custom little truss rod cover with a black crow on it. I'll insert a picture of that for you, just as a little nod to the black crows and the history of this, guitar. But the binding, 5-layer binding on the neck. I mean, just all these details that go into this ebony fretboard, ebony bridge. This guitar is just rates right up there with maybe not a D45 Martin, but certainly like a D41. I mean, the only difference between this and a D45 would be all the abalone, binding and things. But other than that, it's just as well crafted as any Martin guitar I've ever played. So it might be my best guitar. I don't really know. I haven't had it out in a long time, and it's great to, sort of get reacquainted with it. I've been, strumming my J200s a lot more. I don't know how Rich exactly came to own the guitar. I don't know if he went to the factory and picked it out among the herd, or if he bought it. But I do know he got it brand new in 2008, and I know he toured with it. I have a photo that I'll insert of him playing it on stage, and I know he used it on at least one album, which is this acoustic album that the Black Crowes did in 2008 called Crowology. So this album is a double CD acoustic versions of all their most popular songs. And I know this guitar was on that record at some point. This guitar was located in LA when I bought it. That's where they recorded this album. I don't know exactly what track. You know, Rich had said at one point he was going to maybe give me just a little note of authenticity to state, you know, where he used it, but I never did get it. So, Rich, if you're out there, still waiting on it, but that's okay. He's very busy. The Black Crowes are touring. They're having great success, so I'm not worried about that. I know where I bought it. I know where this guitar came from, so I don't need any proof, you know. But he played the guitar quite a bit on stage, and I think it's just an incredible guitar. I'm really happy to have it, and it's just a tone machine, you know. So this is really their top of the line model. It's the Sitka spruce top. It's got the rosewood back and sides, and it's a real bassy kind of sound. You know, it's bright, you know, when you need it to be. It's got some brightness. But a lot of bass. And it just resonates for days. So great guitar, really happy to have it, and I just thought I'd pull it out and make a new video with it. So going forward, I think I'll maybe do some sound comparisons between this and maybe my Martin D35, which is basically similar construction, now that I've got some decent audio equipment. So anyway, that's about all I've got to say for today. I just wanted to make a new video, try out the new equipment. I hope it sounds better. I thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you're doing well and staying healthy. And I look forward to seeing you again very, very soon. And until then, this is Paulie G reminding you that when it comes to guitars, you only need one. More. See you next time.